what you get, little man. Break it down. Sorry.
Welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with your friends and get your gaming goodness every Monday at 6 a.m. My name's Dylan Blight, and joining me on the couch this week, Ciaran Marchant.
Yeah, it's me. I like that we said we were going to replace the couch. I'm glad we didn't. I'd miss this couch. It's still a good couch. It's the same couch. It's a different Monday.
Yeah.
Not a different Monday.
It's a different day.
Different day completely. Unless we fix the week and give it 2 Fridays. A Friday at the start of the week and a Friday at the end. No, a Saturday at the start of the week and a Saturday like towards the end.
Also, here's Ashley Hobley.
Can't believe 2 episodes in a row have been delayed.
Yeah. That's true. It's true. It's a trend-setting thing, 2020, delay things. I mean, to get that out of the way before jumping into the rest of the show, in case you didn't see it on our Twitters or Facebooks or wherever else, we've readjusted the release schedule of Arcade Couch, so it'll now be releasing as this episode has released, on Mondays. So it did mean that we technically missed a week for the show, but it's like
you did your best.
3 days.
Look, to pull back the curtain a little bit, we had a moment in our recent Explosion Network meeting. Dylan chucked a tantrum about the amount of times that Sony have announced something after Platinum Explosion's been recorded, and we were forced to change the date to make sure that he didn't break his contract and quit,
Yep.
That's exactly how it worked out.
That's exactly what happened.
Now you get to start your work week with Arcade Couch.
Yeah.
Instead of starting your weekend with Arcade Couch.
You sat there at work right now? Just pull up a couch. Pull up a couch.
Pull up a couch.
Chill out.
Old saying, pull up a couch. So today on the show, we're going to talk about the sneak peek at the Xbox Series X, Ninja Theory announcing yet another game, and we'll talk about delays and crunch culture a bit more because, I mean, as we just said, 2020 is all about delays. But first, a story that may lead into E3 predictions coming true finally. So IGN writes, the creative director of the last 2 Splinter Cell games has returned to Ubisoft after leaving the company in 2019. VGC reports that Maxime Beland, yeah, sure, is one of the people who will make up Ubisoft's newly expanded and resurrected editorial team that oversees creative decisions on all its games. Beland started as a game tester for Ubisoft back in 1998. He worked there for the next 20 years, serving as creative director on Rainbow Six Vegas, game design director on Assassin's Creed, and creative director for Splinter Cell Conviction and Splinter Cell Blacklist. Before he left Ubisoft in 2019, he became a creative director at Epic Games. Beland provided creative direction for Far Cry 4, Far Cry Primal, and Far Cry 5. Beland left Epic Games in October 2019, has now been reportedly rejoined Ubisoft. Whether that will lead to a resurrection of Splinter Cell is unknown, but there were signs that Ubisoft was gearing up for a new Splinter Cell game in 2018. Of course, we read about all those, and then everyone kept predicting it was going to come, and then it never came. So there's 2 things that stand out to me from this whole story. That this dude's coming back after like a very short. Somewhat short away.
Short, like 4 months.
Like you may as well have just taken annual leave. Just
taken this sabbatical.
He basically walked into Epic Games, was like, hey, like it was like that Simpsons gif, old man Homer Simpson or whatever. He walked in, put the hat on,
Grandpa,
turned around, walked back. Yeah, Grandpa Simpson. Yeah.
Abe Simpson. Man.
Abe Simpson. I don't know the fucking things. But the other thing that stands out to me is that the fact that they're Ubisoft's newly expanded and resurrected editorial team that will oversee creative decisions on all its games. That's interesting.
Can you expand something that was dead, apparently?
I mean, I suppose in order of events, I think it's backed because it's back to fuck really in the way they've written it. It's like newly expanded, whereas it's like newly resurrected thing that will then be expanded upon would kind of make more sense, I guess. You cannot expand a thing until you have resurrected it. I don't think so. But yeah, I find that interesting, the fact that they're setting up this whole creative team to oversee Ubisoft games. And I'm like, does that mean they're trying to build more of a structured path for a lot of their IP? All the Tom Clancy things, obviously, and whatever else. But then I find that weird because I'm like, obviously the Rainbow Six games have become I mean, they're not story based.
They're just Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah, they're just Rainbow Six. Go play Rainbow Six Siege. No one thinks about them as
Tom Clancy properties.
When they were doing Tom Clancy in Vegas and these big story ones or whatever else. Obviously, the Division has a story, but not many people care about it. So now I'm like, what is the group that's going to oversee the creative decisions, and what exactly does that mean for Ubisoft when all their games are just fucking games of service? Not really
is, other than like the Division, the last two Tom Clancy, like the last two Ghost Recons haven't really been what I would say.
The last one
big hits. Poorly. They both were just released to lackluster fanfare.
I feel like the
first one would do pretty well. I remember
Wildlands.
I
felt
well.
like it can't. Like I don't know. Considering this is the same developers that are doing the Division, I feel like Wildlands was very hit and miss. Like I think they did really well in the DLC that they had the Predator in. But other than that, I didn't really hear much.
They had the Predator in the DLC?
They had the Predator in the DLC. You had a mission where you had to go fight the Predator.
Completely.
That was the only time I heard about that. And yeah, exactly. I think it'd be good.
It just sold well, though. I remember it being like one of the high sellers for years. So.
And then you had whatever the last one that came out last year that I had no idea.
That did not do well.
That definitely didn't do well.
No.
I think it's good to have some kind of overarching plan for this kind of thing, especially with, the single player games being non-existent for years. I think there's a lot of gamers out there with very soft spots for Splinter Cell games and that style of game again. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. Do you think this is also the kind of the reverse of this same story? What's the go with this person leaving Epic Games so quickly? Like, is that like a red flag
they
for
offered
Epic
him
Games?
No, maybe he just got offered this role and it was enough to entice him to come back. Like this maybe it was strictly this role, like being in charge of the creative side of like a big overarching type thing. 'Cause the other thing that this makes me think about is like, what if Ubisoft is finally doing the thing that I'm surprised no one's done in games yet, which is like, it's all the rage of movies, interconnected universes.
Well,
is Ubisoft trying to build like a proper interconnected thing? Because of course they had Sam show up in the Ghost Recon DLC.
There's always been elements of it. Like even in that Far Cry New Dawn, that the one that was released after the last Far Cry, there was like a crash plane with Sam Fisher's stuff in it. In that one,
well, there's always been Easter eggs like between Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, and
I think, and Watch Dogs and stuff. There is for some time in Ubisoft there has been some suggestion that a lot of their main franchises are happening in the same world. In Watch Dogs 1, there is information
a character
about
from Assassin's Creed,
and also there's a news article about the ending of Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah,
in Watch Dogs as well.
I remember really getting into that stuff when Watch Dogs 1 came out, and I was getting somewhat excited, and I was all over Reddit when all this shit was popping off, because I was like, this sounds great, because I was aboard the whole idea of being like, oh man, imagine if like Watch Dogs doesn't like Watch Dogs isn't Assassin's Creed, but what if like it's like Watch Dogs becomes like the future Assassin's Creed franchise, like it's lots of people like kick around these ideas and like interconnecting things and all this sort of stuff, and I was like, this sounds great. And then of course nothing happened, I guess. So it's like maybe it's like overseas creative decisions on all its games. Maybe it is some sort of like, let's have some sort of structure between it. Not to say like super Marvel Universe like, but like maybe actually dip their toes into it a bit and finally start.
I think it'd be a good idea to
around.
do that. And I think it'd be interesting to do. It'd be, does it lead up to one big game where they're all involved, like their version of the Avengers, or what? Like, it'd be really fun to see how somebody would do it in gaming terms.
I mean, people would go nuts for that, I think. It's like, Sam Fisher's teaming up with whatever popular character from Rainbow Six.
Didn't Sony at one point try it with, like, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and like Sly? There was like a weird crossover game that happened.
There was a crossover game, but it wasn't like a proper like we built the story up to this. It was just like, these characters are in a game now. So
yeah,
I don't think it's quite the same. All right. Next, rumory type thing that's happening over at Push Square. They write, rumor Silent Hill reboot in the works alongside Telltale style game. Ignoring the PlayStation 5 rumors for a few seconds, we don't think we've come across a leak we've wanted to be true more than this one. According to a very reliable Resident Evil leaker, Konami has plans to bring back the Silent Hill franchise with a soft reboot and another title to accompany it, which it draws inspirations from Telltale's episodic efforts and Until Dawn. Tweeted out by Aesthetic Gamer on Twitter and reported by Riley on Horror, the leaker claims that the Japanese publisher reached out to numerous developers roughly 2 years ago in search of pitch ideas for the series. One is designed to be a soft reboot of the franchise, the other an episodic Telltale Until Dawn style game to go alongside the reboot. Now, we employed to take these tweets as gospel, but the Twitter account in question has been known to leak very reliable information in the past. Aesthetic Gamer revealed the existence of Resident Evil 3 all the way back in December 2018 and stated just 3 months later that the remake is coming along a lot sooner than people think. It isn't developed by Capcom's Division 1 team. All 3 of these key details have been proven to be true. That's the only reason I counted it, because I'm like, we got some street cred with the leaks. Let's add a little bit of credence to the potential of this Silent Hill type thing. I'm of two minds for this, because I'm like, oh man, like obviously everyone wanted Silent Hills when Kojima was doing it, because obviously the PT demo looked really cool and everything. So I feel like no matter what they announce, even if they put out a teaser trailer for this at E3 or some shit, if it's already come along some ways, they put out a teaser trailer, even if it looks really, really cool, I guarantee that the internet reaction will be very mixed, because even if it looks cool, everyone will be like, that's cool. But wait, they fucked over, there's still going to be that whole like whiplash effect of people being like, I don't want to trust Konami with this shit. I don't want to trust Konami with this shit. And then
on top of that, I don't know if I want to trust Konami with an episodic formatted game. Like, there's just something about Konami doing like episodes there's developers that have been doing episodic games for a while now that can't get their release schedules like right or close enough with episodic games. So how's Konami going to do it? And
I don't know. It all comes down to whoever, I guess, if they've got another dev, if they've got some small team brought on that pitched them a cool idea or whatever. And it would also depend on how much money they're going to throw at it, I guess. And they got the money.
And I think the good idea would be to go more towards that Until Dawn route than it would be to go through like a direct Telltale game. I don't know. I don't think I'd be as scared in a Telltale style game, if that makes sense. I don't think that, because I don't feel like, as much then I don't feel like I'm exactly controlling the character in those moments. I'm just kind of, it's weird. Like, I still think, like, in Until Dawn, yes, it's a lot more slower paced and there's a lot more character interactions and stuff like that, but I believe there's still a lot of player urgency and, yes, quick time events that make you feel tense as a player in Until Dawn that would be really well used in Silent Hill.
Yeah, I'd be down for like a Silent Hill Until Dawn-y type game, but I still don't feel good about Konami.
No, I still don't feel good about it at all. Like, it's still, like, PT was so good. Like, PT, I still remember the night that a friend sat me down at like 10 o'clock at night and was like, here's some surround sound headphones, play through this game PT this PT demo that I've got. I didn't know anything. I didn't know it was a horror game. I just started playing it and I was shit scared, and it was a terrifying experience, but I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Ashley, what did you think of your playthrough of PT?
Never played it.
Did you watch a Let's Play?
No, I didn't watch a Let's Play.
Wow.
But no, I've seen it in dreams, so it's fine.
Oh, well, yeah.
Walk down a corridor, real scary. I mean, what does the Silent Hill name even mean at this point?
Not much. The weird,
not a lot. It's not like Resident Evil where there's like history and a bit of, like, obviously they've got the remakes and that kind of thing, so there's a bit of story relevance running through them, but I don't think Silent Hill has that same.
I think Silent Hill still has quite a big fan base to be tapped in. Like, there's still a lot of characters from that are cosplayed quite a lot and stuff, especially like Pyramid Head and shit.
I think there's a lot of nostalgia for Silent Hill. But
why aren't they just remaking them?
They had a movie coming out like 5 years ago, didn't they?
Yeah,
there's a bunch of
like
movies.
the last couple of installments of Silent Hill being really lackluster and controversial in many ways, and they're just, I don't know. I think this will capitalize on the nostalgic fact where it's been that enough years since the last release that people are probably like, oh, I kind of feel like would like to play a Silent Hill game again. They capitalize on that, but it does. I still think, I think there's other franchises that have come out that have built the same kind of community, if not better, within that time. Like even a game like The Evil Within, I think has got a cult following to it now that kind of rivals what Silent Hill is. I'm interested to find out more about this before we go too far into it.
Yeah. All right, next. So this morning, last night, whenever, as I'm recording, Hellblade put out their first, or not Hellblade, Ninja Theory put out their first for 2020 behind the scenes diary thing that they did a bunch of them last year as well. They put out another one talking about like, oh, they're just dev diaries. They're like, hey, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. It's like 10 minutes or so, I think. But one of the things that was announced in it was they're like, hey, we're just going to announce another game. So they've got this game. Well, it's not titled yet, but Project Mara. And in the thing it says, Project Mara will be a real world and grounded representation of mental terror, said Ninja Theory in a press statement, based on real lived experience accounts and in-depth research. The goal is to recreate the horrors of the mind as accurately and realistically as possible. Project Mara will be an experimental title and showcase of what could become a new storytelling medium.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. I mean, so it appears that very much like Hellblade, the themes in whatever this game's Project Mara is going to be, obviously mental types of stuff. I think now I saw a lot of I've seen some interesting reactions to this I'm neither here or there of it because it's like such a short teaser with not much information about it. But like I have a lot of faith in Ninja Theory because I really liked Hellblade and I liked everything about that game. Obviously my favorite game of the year. But I will say for this teaser, this very much just gives the vibes of 1,000,001 typical horror games where they're like, we're using the theme of some character that's struggling with mental health issues and like, oh, there's scary things that are appearing in their mind or whatever. I'm like, this doesn't scream like, especially when they're like new storytelling medium. I'm like, I've played a lot of shitty horror games. Like this isn't like what this teaser is giving me isn't utterly unique in like a horror medium. It's like, oh, there's someone, I'm like this. It's a horror trope to play off like, oh, the character's struggling with mental health things or like there's psychosis or whatever the fuck. It's like 1,000,001 things have done that. So I don't want to fully judge it because, of course, it's like such a short teaser that gives you literally nothing about the game. But I will say that the people who I've seen point that out, I would say are right to point that out because it just, especially Hellblade, people argue here and there about how they handled the material within that game. And I mean, I disagree with that, but I've played the entire fucking game. And I think that even though there's some elements, sure, they could have improved of, I believe that they tried their best and like they got people aboard, professionals and whatever else. So it's like, if they're going to get professionals aboard to try and tackle it this way, then sure, that could be interesting. But yeah, the little teaser they got, it didn't blow my socks away. Although I do find it quite interesting that they've got a team working on Hellblade 2, obviously. Whatever that ends up being called. I presume that game's eventually going to get like a subtitle thing like Hellblade, obviously, because it's like Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, Hellblade, whatever, Senua's.
There'll be something about,
something. Which will be a thing. They've got Bleeding Edge coming out in a couple months, full release properly. And then they've got this. So it's like they're working on like this AAA Xbox, I'm assuming and hoping day one Xbox launch title.
It would be. Xbox
Series X launch title, I'm hoping. And I am assuming that. I think, like reading between the lines of old Philly on stage, he didn't commit to it, but I saw what he was putting out. I saw what he was putting out. So that they're working on that. They're working on this other project thing, Project Mara, which I would presume would be at least like 2021 late. You know, it could be early or late 2021, but definitely not this year, obviously. And then they're working on a fucking hero-based multiplayer melee game over in the corner as well. I'm like, what a weird studio that they've got happening over here. What'd you just say?
Yeah.
He said Overwatch Killer.
Oh, the Overwatch Killer, yeah.
Like, you know, that'd be like going over to a war veteran and kicking him while he's asking for change.
I don't think that's quite right.
I don't think that's accurate at all.
I don't think that's accurate.
No, you don't? No. I think Overwatch is slowly dying.
More like poking at a recovering addict. Yeah,
a recovering addict. I think it's really impressive the growth that Ninja Theory's had since the release of the first Hellblade. For a company that did things like using one of its artistic designers as its lead character and motion capture actress, it has excelled since then, and especially with the support of being a first-party studio with Microsoft. I think they've grown really well. I would be kind of worried for this game if it was almost anybody but Ninja Theory that it would announce something like this. With these
that's the only time I'm giving that. That's the only reason I'm giving that teaser trailer any.
I think it's anybody else. I would kind of be like, oh, you guys are getting into the stage of kind of where somebody could build the story of taking advantage of mental illness to make a profit. Somebody
it's our thing now. That's how we got success.
That's our thing. Is it could be skewed as that very easily. That that they're doing this thing where it's so focused on the scariness and horror of having a mental illness in a grounded and real life world. Whatever if that means that we're playing like a real life kind of story of a character, but the horror elements are just the mental illness that they have. Okay, but I think. For the most part, Hellblade tackled the schizophrenia and the mental illness in that with enough respect that I'm open to this idea, and I'm more open to Ninja Theory living out this project and seeing it out. The only bit I'm a bit about is the section where it's becoming a new storytelling medium. I'm like, what? So what do you mean by that?
I don't know what that means.
What do you mean that people are going to start releasing more games based on mental illness as a storytelling medium now, or what are you trying to get at?
I was hoping it means that whatever this game ends up being is something a lot different than what we're assuming it is. That's what I'm hoping it means.
I hope that. Yeah,
we'll like they're like we're trying the way they're going to tell the story is different.
I'm hoping it means like we're watch this teaser, like assuming it's your typical kind of horror game or whatever. But then when it comes out, it's actually just going to be something way different. Hopefully, that's what I like. They're like, oh, a new storytelling medium or whatever, or pushing things forward. I'm like, you can't really say that unless you've got something over there that you're really trying something that's quite different, of course. Because Hellblade was, I mean. It did do things differently, like in a storytelling medium, especially for the genre, I guess, But like when it came down to it, it was just a third-person action game. Well, I wouldn't call it hack and slash quite, but it's like it tried to be more like a patient. Like you couldn't hack and slash. You had to dodge, and you would die fast if you tried to button mash. You did. I mean, what fucking difficulty was you playing on? I'd die fast to those bosses.
But I can't remember. I felt like I did.
One of those bosses kicks my ass if it fucking dodges that stupid crow monster thing or whatever the hell it was called. But yeah, I mean, we'll find out more hopefully soon. I find it interesting that they're just like kind of weirdly open with what they're doing. I don't know if they're afraid of leaks or whatever, but they're like, we're working on this other thing. Fuck it, we'll just put it in like our dev diary thing and let everyone know and get on with our lives, I guess, and go back to work on other stuff. Over talking about Xboxes and Xbox Studios, let's talk about the actual Xbox itself. So, Kotaku, here's a prototype of the Xbox Series X. Yep. After the remarkably silly 3D render shenanigans from AMD's CES press conference, photos of an actual Xbox One X prototype began floating around the internet Wednesday Australian time. Reputable Microsoft analyst Brad Sams has since confirmed that the prototype matches the hardware he saw, so we can all enjoy the total lack of USB-C. The photos were posted on social media and forums like NeoGAF, showing the front of the console on the rear, a label on the rear list, a manufacturing date as November 12th, 2019, as the prototype at this stage has just the one HDMI port and internal power supply, like the Xbox One X and Xbox One S. One user was cheeky enough to register the serial number on their Microsoft account, and to surprise, it worked, which is my favorite part, because they're just like, they tweeted, when the Xbox Series X prototype is leaked with a serial number exposed, you try to add it to your device on your Microsoft account. When it actually works, you shit a brick, delete it from your device, and beg at Xbox, at Aaron Greenberg, Xbox P3 for forgiveness, and try not to ban a loyal fan. That dude's got some balls. Beyond that, there's not a total huge deal that's surprising here. There's an interesting lengthy port at the back that looks a bit like an old school SD card slot, but otherwise it's fairly standard. Optical out, 2 times USB 3.1, Ethernet out, HDMI out, and 2-pronged power connector. There's also a USB port on the front and the Blu-ray drive. What's interesting about this post is clearly the serial number, which Microsoft is about to track down super fast, not to mention the carpet, which will probably help narrow things down further. But just like that Brave cleaner, some people care not for the repercussions. So yeah, it's like, which was a hint at the PlayStation 5 dev kit where the cleaner was like, I saw one, so I took a picture. Which I don't know if this is a similar story where it's someone's a cleaner and they're just like, oh, I'm cleaning and I saw an Xbox.
It was on the floor.
It was on the floor
upside
the
down like
entire
this.
time.
I didn't touch it to move.
You definitely
around
didn't take it off a desk to not give away where it is and put it on the floor to take pictures.
Well, it looks
That's
like
definitely
from the
not
first, it looks like it's even been maybe removed from a box, because there's like the little bag thing that they often put the consoles in to keep them safe. So it could have been just taken out of a box.
That'd be even funnier. So obviously things could change before the final unit, and I would presume they do change somewhat, of course, possibly. You don't know, they could add an extra USB, a couple extra USBs on the front. I wouldn't, I find it weird there's only one on the front. That seems very lackluster.
How many is there currently on the front?
Two?
Oh, actually, no, I think there's only one on the Xbox.
S? I think
on my Xbox One X, there's only one.
No, there's only one.
There's only one?
I think there should be more than one.
Well, the thing is, you got to remember, Xbox doesn't come, unless this changes for this console, Xbox doesn't come with a rechargeable controller. That's always been batteries.
Hopefully they change that.
I doubt it.
No, they're in bed with battery makers, so
it's Microsoft, man. They've got investments and everything. Batteries, fucking USB to micro USB cables, like, you know what it is.
No, it's so they can sell you that the adapter, the rechargeable battery thing.
Except for maybe, like, I was just quickly perusing the comments of this Kotaku article, which are truly amazing. Like, truly amazing, where people are just not on board. Anybody who really dislikes the back of this console, I don't get it. It looks like the back of a PC. Yes, it's a little squashed to one end, but
what are they complaining about?
Are like just people complain about how it looks, or that they've taken away the second HDMI port that was used to put your TV through?
I mean, that's interesting. I think that's an interesting point, because that was like a big push for the Xbox.
Yeah, but that
I
could
think
come
they're
back.
trying to distance themselves so far away from that. They are trying to get so far away. They're pretty much turning their console into a PC. Like that
could come back though.
Again, this could just be like a dev.
This back section actually interests me, because I'm like the plain section, because I'm like, what's like, is there space for like upgrades and stuff to be put in there eventually? Like things to be.
Is that a handle at the top of the back?
I believe it is.
So. I believe so.
Put your fingers in there so you can just carry it. No, I mean, lots of this has to change in my mind. There's the thing that's literally looks like an SD card slot in the back. There's no way there's an SD card slot in the final product.
Yeah, that's true.
Why the fuck is anyone going to have
because they're going to be
an
releasing game on cartridges. That's the secret.
Well, you're going to have to put it in the back of the console.
Yeah.
So they're putting an SD card slot in the back for the games and a Blu-ray drive in the front for movies.
Yeah.
Never let Ash design your video game consoles. Anyway, so yeah, I'd expect some of this to change, of course. Like, there's just the lack of the two HDMIs, I feel like, is a giveaway. It's like they've got the bare minimum there. And the SD drive could be
I don't
relevant.
know. I don't know if they
maybe
do
they've
the
got some
secondary.
like proprietary
Good job.
memory thing you can plug in.
I don't think Microsoft owns any companies that do
Proprietary
SD.
memory.
I'm sure
things.
Bill Gates can click
Yeah.
his fingers and buy one. So
He could. I mean,
The thing is, though,
so.
Microsoft. But the thing is that Microsoft have already got into quote unquote bed with companies that sell external hard drives for their current Xboxes. So you can buy like special versions of hard drives that are like made for Xbox One, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna buy that because it's got an Xbox One logo on it. I think it'll change. But anybody who's saying that they're disappointed because the back of that looks ugly, it's like, why are you complaining about the back of a console?
I mean, yeah,
How
that is
often
the
do you-
weirdest thing to complain about.
Like, how often are you going to see it? Why? It's like looking at like a couch, but then going around the back of a couch and being like, looks a bit shit. Nah, can't get
Well, it
it.
depends on where you put the couch. Like, is it
God
right
damn it,
up against the
Ashley.
wall? If it's in the middle of the room, then yeah, you're looking at the back of the couch. That's important.
I don't think so.
You can't,
maybe
like,
it
look
was
all
a
scratched up and
maybe
stuff.
some people might say that was a bad analogy on my part, but
Yes.
maybe you're just trying to pick holes in my analogies. Let's just let's just leave it in this neutral ground right
Okay.
now and continue with the show.
I gotta be honest. I think it's actually grown on me. Like if I look at the picture and I look over where my S is in my like shelf thing over here, I'm like, I could see that sitting there and it looking fine.
I love this. I love this design. I actually like the vertical design of it. I think it's cool. Yeah.
Are you gonna have yours? Are you gonna have yours?
I'll probably stand it. I might have to get a new TV unit because I don't have space on my. Or it depends.
I might have to get a new TV unit just for my
it'll
Xbox
stand
One
on
X.
my PC desk,
Seriously.
and I'll need to get a new monitor. Probably get a new monitor. I'll
You're
probably
gonna get-
Why not both? You've
gotta
got
get
a
another
handle you
monitor.
can
Why
take them
not
between the two.
Why not both? I'll probably get like I can get a 4K monitor before then. That could be nice.
It's like $1,000-something.
Let's do it. Fuck
Best
it.
believe I looked into getting a 4K one before I got mine. I was like, nah, I ain't spending that much.
4K monitor. Just with that means it'd be far easier for me
Be
to
like,
stream.
why
because
would you even leave the
I think
chair?
about streaming from my couch a number of times, and I'm like, it's just a pain in the butt. I don't want to use the PlayStation streaming freaking software because I don't want to look like a moon.
This
in
is
the
why
top
what
left
you
corner.
need to do really is you need to buy another TV that's like a half decent 4K TV just for watching like movies and shit, and you can put that out in your lounge and then move your other one into your game room setup.
I don't have space. My game room setup's in the kitchen.
Spoilers.
Excuse me?
Spoilers. Like my desk is in the kitchen where I'm recording right now. The kitchen is like right there. Like that's the kitchen. It's a green screen, so you can't actually see it, but it's right. And sorry, audio listeners, just pretend my kitchen's there. That means I'd have to move.
I mean, not to go too off topic, but I'm trying to picture. Like, say you've got you have your desk in front of you, right? Could you not put like a little unit next to that and put a TV on it?
No,
at all, either side.
No. Because right. So my
Why don't you just move your decks in front of your TV? Problem solved.
move my desk in front of my TV. Yeah. The problem is
Slightly to the
A,
side.
rental house. B, I have a very strict rule on my PC, and mainly my PC has to be cabled for my internet. Like I can't. I refuse to
They're called Ethernet cables.
use Wi-Fi. I know it's called
they can be
Ethernet.
very
I'm in
long.
IT. I work in IT all day. I can call the cables whatever they want. Okay.
You can get long ones that stretch long distances.
I
I don't know if you're aware of this.
Can I actually?
Cat
Yeah.
Can
four.
I indeed?
Cat 5 even.
Cat
Cat
why
6,
not Cat
maybe.
6? Why not Cat 6, Dylan? How do I know that? Because my dad sells the shit.
See, it'd be easy for you to get the Ethernet
Fucking
cable.
worst people in the world.
So you can
What the
move your
fuck?
desk.
We'll go back to Overwatch. Just fucking let me
Anyway.
reinstall that shit.
Back to the box. I find it interesting. There's like
Sandra Bullock. Right.
Back to the box, everyone.
I don't know how I feel about the two buttons being so far away from each other.
You mean the eject button and like the power console button, presumably?
Yes.
Like, let
think
me
I like
stop you
it.
right there because I never turn any console I have on with touching the console itself.
I can either do it on the controller or I just yell to Google, turn my Xbox on, and it turns on. And it's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What I would do is I would go over here and I would press either of these for video viewers. I would
If you
press
get
the button.
actually, if you get up And
I don't touch my consoles.
So, Ash, if you touch the consoles, you're a chump.
Are you telling me that when you turn your PlayStation on, you actually lean down?
No, not all the time, but like
sometimes.
What do you mean
even
at all?
sometimes. What do you mean?
I'm trying to think of a specific, like if I'm trying to, like it's crashed or something, I need to do a hard reset, then I'll press it. Then.
Yeah, but that's like what?
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count at all.
You're like, oh, this Xbox, the design is terrible for hard crashes because like the buttons are too far apart.
No, I think I like it because they're apart. Then you won't accidentally push.
How often do you actually? You know what? It's worse on the freaking. It's worse on the PlayStation currently because I never know.
Saying.
I never know which side is which.
Yes, that's
on
what
the
I'm
PlayStation
saying.
strip.
Let me be honest. As someone who uses my PlayStation a lot, I still fuck up the eject and power buttons.
Yeah, I'm trying to eject it and I accidentally put it in a freaking sleep mode or something. Right? That's what happens.
So I like it how Ashley started this point by saying the buttons were too far apart, and now somehow talked himself into
I was
saying
torn.
it's a good thing.
It just looks weird, is all. That they're so far apart. Like opposite corners.
You know what I don't like? The dust on that right side of the faceplate right now in the picture. They could have dusted it before they took the picture.
Well, clearly it wasn't taken by the cleaner then.
Have a little bit of care. Do you reckon what they did is they took the picture of the back first, and if they're a cleaner, they haven't vacuumed yet. So when they just like spinned it over, it's got dust on it.
Why haven't they vacuumed yet?
Because they were like, got to get in, take a picture of the Xbox, and then
you don't think they're like, hey, I'm going to do my job first, then playtime's afterwards.
No.
Playtime being taking illegal photos.
Man. You know, did you think the person who found the script under John Boyega's bed, do you think they were vacuuming under there? No, they were looking for shit.
Yes, I think they were actually vacuuming under there, and that's how they found it.
I was just flicking through the comments. I do find it interesting how there are a lot of people complaining about the fact that it doesn't have a display port. Consoles have never had a display port.
It's
parted off. These people are complaining about it not having something that consoles never have, but they want it to have. Like, I understand if you're like, oh, I wish it had a display port. Like, there's going to be a very small amount of people that want this. For people who don't understand, the reason these people want display ports is because they want to hook it up to their fancy monitors. Not their TVs, their fancy monitors, their 1440p plus monitors, and they need the display port to achieve those high
they want to.
speeds.
The thing is, though, it's like they, I want to connect it to my 140 hertz monitor, which on a PC makes a difference. On a console, I'm kind of like, well, it's not like the consoles are gonna reach those frames right now. So why does it matter? Like
it might,
maybe
depending on the game, obviously,
maybe, but
also complaining about something that's very niche and is a PC thing. It's still a fucking console, and 99% of people, yes, and 99% of the people that are going to be buying it are still going to be hooking it up to their TVs, not their monitors.
And you'll know that every time you see it marketed, every time you see a picture of an Xbox, it'll generally be stood next to a TV.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be in a home setup, it'll be stood next to a TV. It won't be stood next to a monitor.
No. Even if it looks like a PC, which like a little mini PC, and that's the thing everyone compares it to, and it does obviously look like a mini PC. And even if Xbox and Microsoft are building towards this like interconnected thing where it's like all our games are on PC and box and whatever else, the thing is, the Xbox is still a video game console that is going to be marketed towards you plugging it into your fucking TV and playing it in your lounge room. It's not going to be marketed towards nerds who want to put it into their fucking 1440p monitors and play games at 100 frames a second. That's not how it's going to be marketed. So that was a weird complaint I just found in the comments here anyway. Yeah. I mean, sure, it would be nice if they include it, but that's just extra for a very small amount of people. They could have done that in the last console. They didn't. PlayStation could have done it. They didn't. No one does it. It's always been an option. Anyway, that's the Xbox One.
Also,
XE,
I want to say,
XE,
I just found the best comment explaining what that the block thing is that we don't know what it's for. It's the adapter for the... Yeah, it's the adapter for the Connect 2.
No.
It's coming back.
I won't allow it. It's not coming back. No fucking way. If they announce that shit for Connect 2, I'm out.
I feel like Big Daddy Spence he's the man that people come up to him and suggest things, and he's the one that's free to go, that's a yikes. That's a big yikes. Stop.
He does it. He puts his hand on him. He puts a hand on the person like he's Miles Morales and goes, "Hey, no,
we need Connect 2. And we need a specific port for Connect 2.
No, he would not.
How else are we going to do VR if we don't have a camera?
Phil Spencer is the man that single-handedly made me buy an Xbox after I'd sold mine 6 months beforehand. Single-handedly. What a bloke. What a guy. I have respect for him.
What a guy.
What a guy.
By the way, to answer that question, the PlayStation uses VR by the USB slot. It doesn't.
But they've only got 2.
That's my only point of minor annoyance with the back of this, actually, is they're not USB 3.
Yeah, well, that's
is my only thing where I'm like, yeah, okay.
I will say, like everything else, that could change. We don't know. We don't know. But it's a prototype.
Going to give you all of the USB slots.
But it's a prototype unit, so it's like maybe because it's a prototype unit, is it just not cheaper for them to manufacture a cheaper?
What they need, the minimum.
Yeah, the minimum.
To be like,
I guess.
Just to be like, here you go. Here's what you need to be able to make it work. So
and then the retail unit has 3-point slots. USB-C slots even, possibly. I don't know.
USB-C.
They got so much space on the back, they need so many ports so you can plug in just about anything.
I hope so.
No, I don't think that'll be the case.
You can plug in your mouse, you can plug in your wireless headset, you can plug in your printer, everything.
And not a USB printer like those old school, like proper, like 8
one of the ones you have to like screw in.
Yeah.
That's a VGA cable. What? Why did you have to screw it in? Why is that big?
Kids these days, they'll be like, "What's?"
Then you print it out the one with like the perforations in it. It's
Ashley,
not like
your age is showing.
A4 paper.
Ash doesn't know how old he is, so he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Anyway, moving on. Next story. Last news story for the week. So 10 Australian games just got given variations of like fundings and whatever else from Film Victoria. So I wanted to go over them all because some of them are interesting and cool, and there's like some slight announcements and teasers in here for stuff that excites me. So going down the list. First one, Frog Detective 3. Corruption at Cowboy County, coming from Word Club. I've played Frog Detective 1. I brought Frog Detective 2 the day it released in early December. I never got a chance to play it because obviously December was quite hectic and I just never sat down to actually do it. I should do that very soon because I quite enjoyed Frog Detective 1. And by the sounds of it, I need to get ready for the third game. If you don't know what the Frog Detective series is, it's the first game took me like 2 hours to beat. I think the second one's about as long as they're a couple hours each. They're like less than $10 each. But they're just they're point and click adventure type things, I guess is the easiest way to describe them. Like in the first game, you walk around an island, you're wazzed around, but I say it's point and click because you're just walking from location to location, like talking to characters, grabbing items. None of the puzzles are hard. It's basically an adventure game where you just have funny interactions with animal characters and there's funny jokes, and it made me laugh. I enjoyed it. It's got quirky, silly humor, and you're a frog detective who you have a magnifying glass. It does nothing in the game. You just have it. Fucking reasons. I don't know. Anyway, Corruption at Cowboy County coming soon. Shop Drifter coming from Studio Zero. This was at PAX last year. I did not play it. Did you play this at all, Ash?
No, I don't recall seeing this.
You don't recall seeing it? I think it was being played on like an iPad. It's like but it basically, every time I walked past it, I'm like, oh, it's like Supermarket Shrieks awkwardly here, but like a different version or whatever else. But yeah, it's going to be coming to the mobile devices, and it's basically a game where you're drifting shopping trolleys around town, and that's the game. From what I saw, it looked like a fun sort of mobile game. So, but yeah, we didn't get a chance to play it. The next one, Chaos Tavern, coming from Dragon Bear Studios. I've never heard this one before. It's got this really weird, not weird, but like, I guess like Saturday morning kind of cartoon thing. I don't know what's happening. But it looks like an overcooked thing somewhat to me, is what it looked like in the gameplay. You're like
the description. Play up to 4 underdog adventurers as they race to pay off their mortgage and break the curse of an enchanted tavern.
Yeah. And in the gameplay, you're doing tasks of like bringing drinks to people, doing cleaning up tasks, and whatever else. So, yeah, make potions, serve guests, pacify monsters, and unlock your tavern's full potential. In one screenshot, it has a fucking dragon breathing down upon you all. But yeah, it's definitely like I would have to. The overall design looks very simple, and obviously the Overcooked influences look there. But yeah, I'd have to see more to get fully on board with that one. Either way, cool. The next one was Beating Heart from Ultraverse. Ultimerse, sorry, not Ultraverse. Every time I fucking read this stupid developer, don't know what this is. It's on their website as a new project coming soon. Not much about it. Their other games they did was VR stuff that I haven't played properly before, but I did play 2 years ago at PAX a demo of one of them.
Is this the one where you had trouble throwing stuff?
There's the one where I punched a guy in the dick by accident while I was playing it. Which always stands out as my memory of that.
Put that on the box.
Put that on the box, yeah. So I've played one of them. So I'm presuming that this new game will be a VR game as well. I'm not sure. Either way, it's unannounced as it is. The next one's unannounced project from Massive Monster. I actually know what this one is, even though it's unannounced, because it's the game that I played at PAX that they didn't have a title for it. I think they had it at PAX under like whatever goat game or whatever. But I played it for like 15 minutes or so. And they did explain that it's like they're like, we don't know how much of this is going to change before you get the full game out or whatever else. But what I played, I was having a lot of fun of, and I'm like, I'm happy with this. Just release this. Sounds like a fun game. You play as a goat, and he was going around, and he was like traveling to the land of the dead, like or hell or some shit. And then you could like choose to sacrifice your animal friends to like get power ups and like all this more shit. It was this really one great art style, like all of Massive Monsters. Games have, of course, there was a giraffe in the game because all of their games have giraffes in them. In case you don't know, Massive Monster are the same people that did Adventure Pals and Never Give Up as well. But
Unicycle Giraffe.
Unicycle Giraffe. So all three of those games I like, even though I'll never finish Never Give Up because it'll make me break my fucking Switch. But I give up. But Adventure Pals I love. Fantastic. It's like Adventure Pals is like, hey, cute art style, this game's fun for everyone. And then Never Give Up's like, hey, look at this art style and fuck you. So I don't know where on the spectrum that this GOAT unannounced project game will come in, but I'm excited for
Probably in the middle.
Hopefully, because I liked what I played at PAX. The next game is called Pico Tanks by Panda Arcade. I don't know. I never heard this one before. It says it's like a multiplayer tank game that I feel like I've seen several variations of before, so I would have to play it, I guess, to fully understand what makes this one unique on its own, but it's a mobile game. I mean, yeah, I don't.
I mean, it kind of looks like a battle royale.
Yeah, that's all games these days. That's all games, you know. Thing. The next game was I Want to Go to the Mars. 15 minutes of game. I don't know much about this trailer. It doesn't really explain much other than the fact that you're going to what you want to go to the Mars. It says Robin and Teddy always did like sand. Lol. After the sandpit gets ruined by a big scary rainstorm, they decided they want to go to a new place that never rains, where it's always sunny and they'll never run out of sand. They go to Mars. Play as Robin and Teddy as they point and click their way to the stars and beyond. So it's an adventure game of sorts, but the trailer doesn't really give you a proper glimpse of how you'd be playing the game, but it's got a...
It reminds me of... there was a cartoon about a kid with a play at sandpit. I can't remember what it's called.
Rugrats?
No, not Rugrats.
The next game... I don't know. I haven't seen anything about it, but I can't wait till I do because it's called Wood and Weather and it's coming from Paper House. That is the studio that made one of my favorite games of a couple of years ago called Little Wombat Goes Down and he's got a cute bum.
Nope.
And
it's called Paperback. Feel like we should give the correct name.
Okay. It's called Paperback. You can pick it up on your phones or the old Steam store. It's available in all those places. But yeah.
Is that Humble Bundle still available at the moment?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Is the Humble Bundle still available right now? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's do it live. We'll do it live. I'll do it. No, hold on. I typed in Humble Bundle and it automatically showing up as link because.
Nope, it'll be closed by the time this episode comes.
God damn.
You've been screwed off Humble Bundle because we changed the dates.
Unless they decide to do an extension, which they should, because
we're big enough for them to change the dates for.
Also because it was for Australian bushfire charities.
Several of these games I'm mentioning, like you got Adventure Pals in here. You got.
Why are you going through it? There's no point going through it. It's gone.
I mean, now you can go back and pay full price for them, which is even better.
And it's probably not going to go to the bushfire appeal, but you know.
You should donate to the bushfire appeal and buy the games after so everyone gets the best. If you've got the money to spare, buy the games for full price and then donate to the bushfire appeal. Just saying.
Or do it in the other order, but whatever.
Do it in the other order. Do what you need to do. But either way, Wood and Weather, next game from Paper House. As soon as I saw this, I was like, what's it about? I don't care. I'm playing it. I mean, them as a studio with Paper Park prove that they want to tell interesting Australian stories. And so I'm like, I'm on board. Whatever it is, great. Is it just going to come out of nowhere and release? Great. Is it going to be at PAX? Great. Where can I play it?
The title kind of implies it could be a very similar kind of story.
I would expect it to be a similar sort of thing.
This time you play as a koala.
I mean, maybe. Well, I mean, not to go into big spoilers for Paperback because I still want people to play it, but that game, if you played that now with all the fires happening in Australia, it's like it will have a
emotional
on point sequence. I mean, spoilers, I guess, for fucking Paperback. There's a sequence where like the entire forest catches on fire and you're the wombat and you got to try and make your way to safety and like escape this fire raging through the forest.
You see, the thing is, right, this game is now incorrect about wombats. Wombats are the homies.
Are dope.
They're the homies that lead in animals into their burrows, being like, come hang out with us in our like fire-resistant burrows. We cool. We got you, fam. You know, that's
a sequel. That's a sequel. What's up, fam? Come save in my burrows from the...
Come on, fam. Let's go to the hood.
Wombats.
Who knew wombats were the heroes we needed all along?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I can't wait for that. I mean, obviously, that was my biggest takeaway from this whole list is I'm getting another.
That's the whole reason this list is.
It's the whole reason I put this whole news story in is because I talk about Paper House's next game that I know nothing about. But there was two games left, and they're both exciting games. The next one I didn't know anything about, but when I watched the trailer, I was like, yes, please, I want some of this. It's called 9: The Splintered Mind Part 1, and 9 is spelt with 1 in the I part. Which I kind of hate, but nonetheless, it's from Odin Studios, and it is a VR game. Now, the only trailer they've got available is from alpha footage, so there are some weird things in it, like character models look a bit dodgy and whatever else, but the overall vibe and the way the general world looks great, and it basically looks like Cyberpunk the game, sort of, I guess, is the easiest way I guess I'll describe. Like the general layout of the city and everything, it just obviously invokes cyberpunky type thing. In the trailer, it says, we're excited to give you a glimpse of our cyberpunk narrative-driven game designed exclusively for VR, set in the year 2099, where you play as a resourceful detective as you explore, interact, investigate, interrogate, and solve your way through a series of suspicious murders in the real world as well as in virtual reality. So I don't really know fully what's going on. Obviously in the trailer you see them picking up clues, searching rooms for stuff, hacking things, walking down the street, interacting with some characters and whatever else. It looks really cool to me. I'm highly intrigued. I don't love the name, but I'm highly intrigued, you know? So that's all of these apparently coming out in 2020, by the way. All of these games that recently got funding. All of these
this year.
This releases. So that's cool. And then the last one is a game that I really wanted to play at PAX last year, but I didn't get a chance to get my own hands on it, which is coming from the studio with a great name called Drop Bear Bites. And the game is Broken Roads. So Broken Roads is a old school, what do they call it here? They've got the proper wording here. Traditional RPG is what they have on their website. So it's like it's literally like old school Fallout, but in the outback of Australia is the easiest way to describe the game.
Yeah.
You know, so you're going to have old school RPG type stats, which I guess, I mean, this game will do quite well coming off the back of fuck.
Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium, thank you. Yeah, it's like if people if people played Disco Elysium and that was like their first kind of foray into like sort of old school RPG type games, even though that game isn't like heavy combat, but it's like more just like a proper role playing game. I don't know how much what's the percentage of like combat to just RPG mechanics in this game, but I feel like Disco Elysium helps this game stand out because people like suddenly might be more interested in it. But yeah, it's like an old school RPG game in Australia.
Yeah.
So that
even the art style looks kind of like Disco a little bit. I think it looks a little bit more cartoony, but and then just looking at it, it's got like a philosophical leaning moral compass chart in it as well that will give you different stats and stuff. So
yeah. I walked past it several times every single day of PAX last year, and it was always packed. And disappointingly, didn't get to give it a go myself. I'm glad it's coming out this year because, of course, sometimes it's like you see these games at PAX, and then they're there for like five more years before they release. So I'm like, cool game, probably out. But yeah, these are all the games, Australian games that are going to be coming out this year. Of course, there will be other Australian games as well. But I think the thing I like about this is I can point, and even if some of these even if a handful of these get delayed, right, into 2021 or something, it's like you got these plus whatever else we don't know coming about. It's like there's lots of Australian games. That's great. Play all the Australian games. Support all the Australian games. That's good stuff. Of course, the most popular Australian game of the year will undoubtedly be when Silk Spectre or whatever the fuck it's Hello Night Silk Song Silk Spectre Spark Spectre. I don't know. I can't remember the title. When that releases, that will undoubtedly be the biggest Australian game of the year because that's just going to sell like hotcakes. And
you don't know.
What else?
We could just be surprised.
You don't know? You didn't have a follow-up for that statement?
Yeah, I was like, what's the...
No, it's not going to be that
Untitled
DLC,
Goose Game DLC.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
We're living in sort of a crazy world when you think about it, though. Like, Untitled Goose Game, one of the biggest games last year, and then we'll get Hollow Knight follow-up this year. I'd put money on that as being one of the biggest games of the year. In fact, I'd be willing to say that I would take a bet of which do people like more between that and what's the Microsoft one? Ori. I would say I would put money on.
People are going to love Hollow Knight more than they love Ori.
I would say Hollow Knight gets a better like.
Which one gets a better?
Doomed for failure. Ori is doomed to be bad.
I just feel like people are going to be more disappointed with that because it's taken so long.
It's just been weird and it's taken so long and it's just all over. I just don't know.
Yeah. So it's like I feel like Hollow Knight's going to like. Anyway, this is putting out bets.
If you disagree, at Viva La Dill.
Yeah, just putting it out there. If you want to,
anybody wants to take that bet,
you want to take that bet? I'll say that. Or my bet is that Hollow Knight, Silk Spectre, or whatever the fuck is
Silk Song.
Thank you. Silk
I
Song.
say confidently, but don't necessarily
is better received than Ori and the Will of the Wisps. That's my hot take. It's my hot take prediction. Let's talk about what we've been playing. Does anyone have anything they've been playing?
Apex.
Just more Days Gone and Apex with you two jerks.
Yeah, well, I suppose we should talk about that first because it's a monumental moment that we should cover before I go over the couple things I've been playing. Monumental moment in our lives in which the three of us played a game together, not for content. But
we just hung out and chilled out for like a couple hours.
Yeah. And I was like, it was like Ciaran was discovering a whole other world. He's like, you're telling me the entire time that I've been playing Overwatch that this was an option?
I could have been playing with people I like.
It felt good, but it did fill a hole that I haven't had in my life. It's just, since I stopped playing Overwatch, I kind of lost people that I was playing games with and just hanging out and talking shit with. So it was, it's really sad. It's really fucking sad. But no, it was really fun. We almost killed Ashley. That was fun.
That was great.
Yeah.
Ashley almost died.
Water is very dangerous.
He almost drowned, but it's fine. But yeah, no, it was great. And Apex is interesting. And I feel like an old man playing a first-person shooter on a console because my aim is really bad. But
everyone has the same level of aim because everyone has to aim using the analog sticks. I don't know if you're aware.
A lot of people are better than me.
Everyone's handicapped, you know. So.
And I was like, this is gross. This is not. But other than that, no, I'm enjoying it. I had fun. Played some Apex. We played some League of Legends after Arcade Couch last week. That was something.
It's going off.
It was going
crazy.
off. And you know what? Days Gone, still pretty good. Still pretty good.
And you'll be there for another 8 weeks. But it's lucky we've got time. See,
that's cool. Plenty
it's like
of time.
we're also. It's the other good thing about being in a non-busy period is I can go play Apex and League of Legends because there's not a million and one things I need to be doing. That's perfectly great. There's not like 20 games out that I should be fucking reviewing right now.
No,
not looking forward. I'm looking forward to that period, but also not because I'm enjoying the lull. I'm enjoying the lull. And the lull has led to things. So, of course, I talked about how I started Rise of Tomb Raider last week. I have now finished it. Now, I do want to point out that
Were you close?
Hey?
Were you close to
No,
the
I was
finish?
completely wrong. I was like halfway through when I said I was close to the end. It did not take 30 hours, though. It took like 15, I think, or something. I don't know.
I was like, there's no way you were close to the end when you were talking to us about it. I was...
Let me see if I got my playtime up here, if I can fucking find it.
9.5 hours, apparently.
9.5 hours is all it took me. That is not 30 hours, though. Okay? Yeah. There's 9.5 hours. And as I said, I wasn't rushing, but also I wasn't, like, dawdling too long. I did a little bit of extra tomb. I could have done that in, like, 7 without doing those extra tombs, I reckon, without fucking around. So, just saying. Overall thoughts, though, I would say that the story is not very good. Not particularly interesting, but the gameplay is fun, and that's what I enjoyed. That's my review.
Tomb Raider just traditionally has the worst villains in the world. The most
the villain was fucking
generic and boring villains, and you're like, even like the original games, a lot of them were just generic.
No, not the first one, because it was
not the first
badass chick who turned into a demon.
Some of the later ones were really bad, and you were like, yeah, I don't know who you are or what I'm doing. I'm just shooting things.
Yeah. This one's a bad guy. Spoilers for however many years old the game this is. Just some dude. He's like, oh, I'm fucking big and tough and I got fucking military shaved haircut and I work out, bro. Fucking, I want to take over the world.
Let me monologue in front of you for a while.
Trinity, something. But so what I've decided to do going forward, if you can go over the website, I'm going to do this. So it's titled Dylan's X Pile of Shame, and the first one, of course, is up for Rise of the Tomb Raider. Because when I finished it, I was like, oh wow, I'm going to start knocking off some piles of my pile of shame. I was like, should I put together a list and then like post that and then like update every time I finish one off the list? But I was like, that's terrible because I'll do like 2 and then feel shit at the end of the year because I only did 2 of like the 10 or 20 games have inside. So what I then decided to do, so I can never feel bad, is that I'm simply going to, whenever I finish something from my pile of shame, and my pile of shame is just like anything old, obviously. There's not actual physical pile, it's just whatever ends up happening. I will put up an article with my just like here's my general thoughts like on this thing. And then at the end of the year, I can be like, how many random games did I actually beat off my pile of shame?
They'll have like a pile of
there'll be like a really good representational image of games that you put together. Not some shit flat image that just looks terrible.
Inside jokes don't work if people don't know things this way.
It's not an inside joke if you read the article when it came out.
If you read the article early and saw the terrible picture that was put up there first.
Look, I'm not the design person for the website.
Should have talked to that person.
Should have consulted with them. I hope we got to it before Cherie saw it.
No, she didn't see it. It's fine.
Thank God. Poor Cherie.
The next game I have started for whatever reason. I know why I started it. So Dying Light 2 got delayed. So I didn't bring this up as a news story because I was like, I don't know how much any of us really care about it, and it's a fucking another delay and whatever. It's like it wasn't a big news story, but they delayed it from an unspecified time, it was like spring
to another unspecified time
to like whenever they're like it's coming still. Cool.
We'll get there.
Yeah, good story. But what it did lead me to go is like, the amount of times I've thought about playing Dying Light is many. The amount of times I've seen it on sale and I've been like, I've put it in my cart and then gone, no, Dylan, you will not play that. You'll buy it and you won't play it. So I was like, the amount of times I've not done it. But I saw it on sale over at what's the website? Fanatical, right? I posted it in our Slack and was like, here's a good sale. So I brought it on there, all the DLC, everything. It was like $22. Cool. And after the news story popped and I was looking through that sale, I saw it there for $22 or whatever. I was like, you know what? Now's the fucking time. I've got time to play Dying Light before the sequel comes out, because the sequel's just been delayed till fucking whenever they decide to release it now. Yeah, so I've put a couple hours into Dying Light, which, when did Dying Light actually come out originally? I don't actually, because it's quite old now, isn't it?
2016?
It's like decent, surely older than that, surely. Dying Light, let's see, Steam, release date, give me a release date here. 2015.
2015, I was a year.
5 years old. Fucking hell, crazy. It looks fine. It definitely looks like it's 5 years old, though. If you know what I mean? It doesn't look old, like super, super old, but you can tell it's oldish. But it still looks alright. I'm having fun with, of course, all the parkour-y type stuff, because like you can
best parkour system.
You can run and jump and do whatever the fuck you want. Really climb up stuff. It took me a second. It took me a little bit to get used to it first, because I was finding it very like.
The controls are weird. I think, if I remember rightly, the controls on console was like right trigger or something to jump. Or RB. I think RB was to jump, and it was really weird to get used to. Okay,
so because I'm playing on PC.
Yeah.
So I got the space bar to jump at least. But then it's like you have to hold it in while you're looking at what you want to grab onto. And you got to make sure you're actually looking at it. It's not very responsive, like to pick up, like to grab something above you if you're not actually looking at it. So the amount of times I'd like fall off stuff because I wasn't actually looking at what I tried to grab onto. So that all the parkour stuff I'm enjoying so far. The combat is surprisingly quite good. I never played Dead Island, so I never got into any of these melee based zombie games at all. Yep. So I'm having fun smashing clubs into zombies' heads and blowing their fucking limbs off. How much time have you spent
during nighttime?
So yeah, I was going to this is my last point. This is my last point. So combat's fun, parkour's great, story is mediocre. I'm some fucking agent that was sent in and blah blah blah. Anyway, it's whatever. I'm not skipping cutscenes yet, but I'm still also just like I don't really fucking care. Some other thing I was gonna say. Oh, that the RPG type system where you can upgrade weapons and stuff is fine as well. And the other thing I don't really like is the whole like skill point system where it's like you've got a skill point. Do you want to learn how to put a skill point to this? And now I can press while running. You can now slide. I'm like, can I just have had that at the start of the fucking game? Like, can we have some better skills? Anyway, that's like a pet peeve.
Hey, they're better than the Outer World skills. Leave it alone.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have done a couple nights. And I'll say that the first time I did the nighttime sequence, which is, of course, they introduced it to you in a storytime sequence. Because up until this point, I was like, this game isn't that scary. Like, you're running around and it's like, as long as you can sort of have awareness of what's around you, it's like you can kind of just back away from the zombies and like slowly take them out. You have a stamina bar, but it's like if you can run circles around them, and as long as there's not too many, you could chip away at probably 50. It'll take you an hour, but you'll fucking get there, and it's fine. Nighttime sequence, suddenly I'm like, fuck this game.
It's because I've played that game that even though I'm still a wimp and a lot of times in Days Gone, I will make sure it's daytime. It's probably because of that game that I'll make sure it's daytime as well. But nighttime isn't so bad in Days Gone because I'm like, it could be Dying Light's nighttime. Like, I could have to run places. I've got a motorcycle at least.
Yeah. The problem with Dying Light's nighttime, for people who haven't played this game, is in the daytime, there's lots of you got zombies, shambling zombies. Some of them will kind of jog towards you sometimes, but you can literally kick them away. It's fine. Mm-hmm. And there's light, and you know where you are, and you climb above. If you get above in the air, you'll get away from them. Like, they can't climb. At nighttime, these other zombies come out, and these fuckers run, jump. They will fucking kill you. And not only will they kill you, you cannot see shit. And also the whole map, the world that you're playing in is like, I can't remember where it's set.
It is South Africa or Africa. It's one of those kinds of places. Okay. But I will say it's a minor point. That is only the first map.
Okay.
And the second map is much bigger.
Okay. Well, what I'm dealing with currently is still bullshit because it's all these very tight like streets, and stuff like that. And at nighttime, you can't see shit. And I'm not turning my flashlight on because I don't want to attract attention to me. But if one of those fuckers sees me, all of a sudden I'm like falling through rooftops because I like jump from something and the fucking roof breaks and I'm falling to my doom. And then it makes a bunch of noise and then they're all chasing after me. And then I was like, fuck this shit. I'm having a panic attack. Anyway, nighttime sucks. I'm not looking forward to doing it. It's like, hey, we'll reward you with more XP the longer you stay out. And I'm like, fuck off, I don't care. Just like, get me back to base. I don't want to care about this Dying Light stuff. But yeah, overall, I'm enjoying it. I'm kind of hoping it's not too long though, because I'm like, it's fucking 5 years old. I'm not doing any side quests. I'm just, kind of just focusing on.
I think it's going to be
the main
longer
stuff
than you want.
Just want to get through it. I think so too, which worries me because I'm like, will I just like play it for a little bit more and.
The first map is long enough, and then the second map just gets bigger. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to try and stick to the golden path, and then like hopefully not get sick of it, because it. I wouldn't say I'm like trying to rush all these games, but if I'm doing any of these like pile shamey type games, I am like
you're not strolling. You're.
Yeah, I just want to play the game. I just want to get I just want to get the story, the general gist of the gameplay. I don't want to fuck around on heaps of side quests or like I'm finding all the collectibles. Of course, if I walk past a collectible, I'm picking it up because I can't help it. I'm doing that, but that's so that's what I'm doing right now. Dying Light's a game I've started for whatever reason. I will update yous on here if I either finish it or get sick of it and stop playing it. Either whatever ends up happening first. But for $22 or whatever it is, if I don't finish it but play it for like 10 hours, and I'm like, I enjoyed it, but I can't be fucked finishing it. But the thing is, now that I'm enjoying this, it means that I'll pay more attention to Dying Light 2, which whenever the trailers for that came on, I was like, I don't care.
I'm more excited
even played the first
for
one.
Dying Light 2 because it's set in France. I think that's really interesting as just a location for the game. So
lots of high shit
to climb. It's got that kind of that weird kind of connection with like the French Revolution historically. I'm like, yeah, this is interesting for me. So.
All right. So for the main topic, there wasn't really a big like thing to go with this week. I didn't think personally, but given all the delays, I did find this thing that Jason Schreier posted early in the I think it was like Monday or something like that last week. He posted this thing that I found interesting after all the delay talk, where of course everyone, I'm at stage 1, I'm sick of seeing it now. Like a delay happens and the first response I see in the comments is, it's sad that it's delayed, but at least it'll help the developers and all this sort of stuff. And blah, like everyone has the same copy fucking pasta response to this stuff now. But so Jason Schreier, I'm going to read a little bit of this article he posted saying game delays cause more crunch. Which to a lot of people is like, what? I thought it was supposed to help them. So these days, most video game fans are sympathetic to delays. They recognize that more time makes for better games and that more development is too complicated for anyone to accurately predict release dates very far in advance. So, after a string of high-profile delays this week, including the role-playing game Cyberpunk 2077 and an action game based on the Avengers, a whole bunch of fans were happy to declare that they'd rather wait a few extra months than see developers work overtime to hit their deadlines. If only. Crunch, the colloquial term for extended periods of overtime that can last for weeks or months on end, is an epidemic in the video game industry. Sometimes it's just a few extra hours or a week. Other times, it's mandatory sad days at office. Companies might ask their employees to crunch to make an E3 demo, to hit a development goal for their publisher, or to squash bugs before a game's release. Often, game developers willingly put in extra hours to help ensure the game is polished or prevent their favorite features from getting axed. Crunch happens all the time, but it peaks in the months just before launch. When the contract emails start going out saying, hey, everyone, thanks so much for all your hard work. We're just going to have to push a little bit harder to get the game in the best shape possible. Imagine then having a single release date in mind, knowing that all your work and nights and weekends until then, only for that date to slip back 5 more months. Maybe at that point, the emails will start getting even more contrite, saying, hey, everyone, thanks so much for all your hard work. The good news is that we're just going to have some more time, which means we're able to get in all those kick-ass features we wanted. The bad news is that we're just going to have to keep pushing a little bit harder. Yesterday, Cyberpunk 2077 developer CD Projekt Red announced that it was delaying the much-anticipated role-playing game from April 16th to September 17th. During a Q&A with investors last night in Poland, where the company is based, CEO Adam Kaczynski took a question about overtime in the wake of this delay. Here's how that went. P6. I don't know what P6 stands for, but whatever. And is the development team required to put in more crunch hours? Adam's response. To some degree, yes. To be honest, we try to limit crunch as much as possible, but it is in the final stage. We try to be reasonable in this regard, but yes, unfortunately. So then considers on to say, long story short, several other paragraphs, is that them delaying the game doesn't mean that suddenly they're not going to have to crunch because they have more time. It actually just means that they've extended the period of crunch that they need to do, which I thought was interesting because even I was like, oh, they've delayed it. Surely everything that's like good, that's more time. They delay the game so they don't have to crunch.
I mean, if they do one more hour of crunch during that several month period, then technically they're doing more crunch. So this statement is accurate. Well,
yeah. But I think like in everyone's mind and in my mind, it's like if you delay a game, you're delaying it so you don't have to crunch. Or you know what I mean? It's like
they were delaying it because they looked at it and like, hey, even if we crunch, the game's not going to be ready.
Yeah.
But then also they're delaying the game. They're now potentially losing money because they're having to spend more money on the project than they may have originally budgeted for. And
they definitely are.
They definitely are. And you don't want to delay the game again. Like there's so many, you can't just keep delaying the game. It doesn't work like that. Eventually you're going to have to, sadly, not everybody can be Kingdom Hearts 3. Not everybody can
be the last guardian, yeah.
Be the last guardian. It's just not how it works if you want to be a successful company and a successful developer. I think it fucking sucks that people have to crunch. Like it's garbage that people crunch. I think it's, for me, from this article, I think it's good that like in this interview, the topic wasn't really danced around. It was very upfront and honest and said, yeah, that's going to be.
It wasn't investors' question, to be honest. It wasn't a journalist question. I think it was a investors.
Even then, I still think when something's going out to the media, there is always a potential for somebody to step around that question or to not give a very straightforward answer. And I think giving the straightforward answer is a good thing. I think crunch is bad. I don't know. I don't know how to word this without getting completely shot. I still think in some occasions there's a right way to do crunch. Not good. Like it's not good. It's never good. But if somebody is offering to do crunch and they're not being forced, then it's not like.
I mean, we've spoken about this before, and I don't think anyone here. And I feel like I'm usually like the most would come across as most as like crunch is super bad. I think crunch is fine as long as for a certain amount of time.
Yes, yeah, exactly. As long as it's within reason.
As long as they're being tataken care of.
Yeah.
Even then, I think there is a length of time that is too long.
Definitely.
Because if you put it into perspective, which I was scrolling through the comments here and I had someone like perfectly kind of weigh out this thing. This person wrote in the comments of the article saying, a problem with this debate is people think they know what crunch time is because they worked overtime for a few weeks doing something menial when it wasn't so bad, which I agree with because a lot of people are like, how's crunch so bad? I had to do like 60 hours at my desk job this week and it wasn't so bad. Not the same. They say crunch time is wake up, shower and change, grab coffee on the way to work, skip breakfast, work till lunch. Lunch is desk ramen. Work till dinner, a quick take-out dinner at your desk if you're lucky enough to have some food or do a food run. Otherwise, ramen. Work till 10 p.m. Go home and sleep for 6 hours if you have a short commute. It comes out of sleep time. Repeat until you wish for death. So it's like, and just when your 6 months of crunch time is up, they extend the deadline with another 6 months. That's a living nightmare and it's burning our industry talent. And that is the what he or she, this person described is the worst case example that we've read stories, mostly published on Kotaku, of course, about like the worst cases of this stuff. Doing that for 6 months is, in my opinion,
too much. No.
That's ridiculous.
No. It's
doing that for a week. Okay, like if you agree to it. If you agree to do these like 100-hour week for a week or 2 weeks or something, like, okay, like as long as you're getting compensated for it or whatever else and you're not going to fucking kill yourself, I guess. But it's like,
I guess one benefit to this story is that at least it's in Poland where this kind of work is forced to pay overtime. Like you have to pay overtime for it, where in like other countries, like including America, they're not forced to pay overtime. Like they don't have to pay for the work of people staying back.
They just pay like for the game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's at least they're getting paid for it at the very minimum. And I believe there has to be positives. Like this won't be the same crunch time, I hope, as what we were talking about when the crunch debate came out, midway through last year?
Was it the BioWare stuff? Or?
The BioWare? Or maybe it was even the Project Red stuff?
I don't remember. I mean, there was a lot of stuff last year.
But the initial conversation about crunch that started and people's eyes, like the general gaming community's eyes were open to the word crunch and what it meant. I'd like to think the developers, at least the good developers or the developers that have decent ethics, have worked around that and improved what their version of crunch is. I hope there is some improvement. Well,
the thing here is most games enter a period of crunch before release. That's like just a known fact. And you can only hope it's for like the last month or something, right? And even then you hope that it's only like, I don't know, 50, 60 hour weeks. Not like...
have to come in on the weekend and work reasonable
hours. Come in on the weekend or something like that. You know, you hope it's not too hard. But like it's a known fact that most games have a crunch period towards the end. And that's... I feel like an accepted thing because people... It's just like the way games come together is like...
It all comes together at the end.
I mean, I don't find... Yeah, it's like everything I know is from following game developers on Twitter and trying to have a better understanding. Of course, I'm not an actual game developer. So what I'm saying is everything should be taken with the word salt because everything I say is... all of my opinions on this are influenced by the developers I choose to follow and take their what they say as meaningful.
Gospel.
But it's like you line up all these puzzle pieces for a game and then it's like in the last month you got to like... figure out how they all finally fit together, you know, like you've got them all, but it's like the crunch period is because it's like one of those things that's hard. And to be honest, I can sort of relate because every time we talk about like our end of year content for Explosion Network, I feel like the last 2 years, every time I'm like, it feels like it's always like fast. And I'm like, there's no way around it though. You know, every time I say, because I'm like, either we plan like way ahead or we do them earlier in the year, but like to do our end of year awards the way we do them, it's like you have to wait till a certain date and then suddenly there's 6 weeks to do them all, you know, like there's no way around it not being a rushed affair. And I feel like that's the only like thing I can relate to. It's not obviously the same, but it's the closest I can get in something that happens here. But it's like, if they were planning to hit the original Cyberpunk release date and they had been in crunch already potentially, they've now just extended that for 5 months, which means they could potentially be in this period of crunch for like 8 months total by the time the game comes out, which to me is ridiculous depending on what it is. And I mean, but it's also, the other thing in the article I found hilarious is this part here where it says Crystal Dynamics, also infamous for crunch, has a raffle system in which developers can acquire tickets and win prizes in exchange for their overtime hours. What the fuck? Because it's all built around like the heads of the companies finding ways to incentivize their team to keep coming in on Saturdays, Sundays, and like skip lunch and keep working and blah 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 blah.
If we get down to it, it's really the management's fault that this has been a common thing. If they had have scheduled things at a better rate and that kind of thing. And games are so hard because developing different things can take longer. Like, obviously, we know that the God of War axe throwing took forever to perfect. And that's
I feel like that documentary should be like must watch for everyone to understand certain things.
Yeah.
What was it called? I can't remember now. PlayStation.
Finding Kratos or something?
Yeah,
Raising Kratos.
Raising Kratos. That's it. Everyone should go watch that because it helps you. I mean, there's heaps of game document. There's a few game documentaries, of course, but that one was that little example was like thing, and it's like the fact they stress out. They're like about to hit the release date, and then they have to push it because it's like there's so many bugs and stuff.
I feel like again the release date culture is another issue, but I guess that's something you can't avoid.
It's annoying that
investors.
People are like. You get one hand where people, when they read these articles about crunch, they're like, developers should stop setting unrealistic release dates for things, and they should be more planned out about things. I bet the same people are also going, "Oi, when's this game gonna be released? Give me a release date for it already. Come on." You're like,
it's just the video game industry is so much different to every other industry in the same sort of spectrum that gamers take in, which is of course like movie and TV as the main ones. Obviously, it's like movie, TVs, games. Like you expect like your general gamer to take in that sort of stuff, and it's like movies get made on. Usually, they stick to their time because it's like it's a well-oiled machine that's been around for a lot longer than games, and they can literally go. There's a system to it. Scout out areas, do this. All right, the script's this long, blah, blah, blah. We're probably going to need a 6-week shoot period. We'll probably need about a month of editing after. We'll need this long for post. Like, there's like a well-oiled thing, and there's less errors that can happen. Errors do happen, of course, sometimes if things happen, especially like
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Things, yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, stuff happens, but it's just not very common. Whereas the thing with games, as we're talking about here, is like you can set a release date and be like, yeah, we're going to hit like February 18th or whatever the fuck, and then all of a sudden a bug appears where if you wear a hat into a certain town, the whole game breaks, and you're like, how the fuck do I fix it? So it's like it's not. How do you plan for the unprepared? And I think the biggest problem does come down to I honestly do feel like if a lot more people were better. A lot more gamers were better at understanding how all this stuff worked, it would then like flow through and see change to the industry. Because I do feel like it starts with like, if everyone's complaining and investors see people complaining, then investors aren't going to be like, well, you have to hit the date because you're going to piss off all these people that are complaining here. You know what I mean? Like, we need to sell the thing because the gamers are complaining about the thing. We need to sell the thing. You need to make our money. Fucking whip, crack, go make the fucking game. You know? So I feel like it starts at the bottom.
These companies, even though they're there because the people working on these games want to bring you these adventures, bring you these games for people to enjoy, the bottom line is these companies want to make money. Like they need to make money as well. They need to make money. They need to pay the bills for these passionate people who are working on the games. They need to be able to do it. And it's a heavy, it's a weird balance between that where do you push it out and then you have to worry about possibly, some companies don't have to give a fuck about that because they're like, well, we've got endless amounts of money. We're good. We're fine. But yeah, it's just very.
I don't know. I don't think there is
not an endless amount of money, but they've got their ability to take on the impact of a delay is a lot better than some smaller companies that don't have that. That are these companies that are living where there's just like your CD Projekt Reds, but even though they're massive, they go from game to game. Like they're not working on multiple titles.
They're funded by their government.
Yeah.
So it's like,
they
get told to hit a release date so they can get their incentives and whatever else. So it's like, if they were funded by themselves, I guess, then you'd hope they could do smarter decisions. Like there is, of course, a good example. People always make fun of the fact that Dreams took forever to come out. The reason Dreams took forever to come out is because they never entered the period of crunch. Full stop. Like that's why the game has taken
was
so
announced
long.
At the start of the generation. It's coming out at
the
the
other people don't think about the impact of as gamers, if across the board in gaming, developers decided we're going to eliminate crunch completely, the result of deciding to eliminate crunch would result in this period where we would have a lot less games coming out because all the games that were scheduled to come out during that time have been pushed right back. Mm-hmm. So it would just have a flow-on effect for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's like an even going there because like from what, as I said before, as I understand from like developers I choose to partake in reading their opinions on this, is that there definitely needs to be there will always need to be some form of like kind of crunchy-ish aspect because it's like it hits a stage where it's like, here are our few problems left. And once we solve these, the game is good kind of thing aspect. Like that's a simplistic term to it, I guess. And it's like, well, okay, we all need hands on deck for this. So there has to be like a period of that, I guess. But then also it's like, does that need to last for 8 months?
No.
And the answer, in my opinion, is no, because that's ridiculous. And to stop that, that means delaying games. And delaying games is a thing that gamers don't like, and also the investors and the big wigs and companies don't like. So really, that's where the change has to start. But I mean, we've talked about a crunch a lot last year and whatever else, and I feel like I'm obviously repeating some things I probably said last year. Maybe this is the first time you're listening to the show, so welcome. Here's my opinions on crunch. But I thought it was worthwhile bringing up again in this aspect because, of course, everyone... I feel like the narrative for delays has been, and even from my end has been like, oh, delays are surely good. But then when I start reading more about it, after I saw Jason post this and I started doing some more Googling, and I'm looking through Twitter and I'm seeing other developers post stuff on Twitter and being like, I don't know why everyone's celebrating the CG project delaying Cyberpunk, like that's not good, that's just bad. And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know any of this. So then I'm like, that's a narrative that everyone's assuming is good. Delays are great, means the game will get better and developers have more time. But it's like the delays aren't always great. Delays could be good if that means they're not. Delays are good if it does mean they're not going to crunch the entire time, but delays are bad if it means they're just extended crunch. That's bad. That's extended crunch. That's bad.
No, I don't think they would have just delayed it 5 months if they're going to be crunching for 5 months. I refuse to believe that's a thing.
Wait until the Jason Schreier article comes out in like fucking August or September detailing the whole thing.
And the thing is, I think today's society or today's gaming community, I think at least from what I see, is a lot better about delays. I think it's more common for games to be delayed now than it was 5-6 years ago. Like, I don't think... up until recently, I can't remember periods of time where, like we've had in the last couple of weeks, where it's just been... domino after domino of games being like, hey, we're delaying, hey, we're delaying, hey, we're delaying.
I'll say, I'll put an asterisk on that and say, I cannot remember that this many delays.
No.
Ever.
In such a short period of time.
Yeah, in such a short period of time. I think it's really weird. But yeah.
But maybe that's a positive sign that companies are feeling like it's easier for them to delay games now than it used to be.
Yeah, I think it should be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a small positive from the gaming community is that delays are now a kind of commonly understood and accepted thing that needs to happen. It's just moving towards the right kind of mindset for both gamers and the industry.
Because it's like going back and like I'm talking about playing fucking Rise of Tomb Raider and Dying Light and stuff. It's like if you start delaying heaps of games, I'm like, oh man, I was really looking forward to playing fucking Iron Man VR. I feel that one has me the most annoyed for whatever reason, but I suppose because it was closer than the other ones is probably why. Or Best Friends Forever, of course. Best Friend Forever. But it's like there are so many fucking games over the last like 5 years that I wished I'd got to play. So it's like when games get delayed and we're in this period where there's not much to play, I'm like, great. Like, in what world, if there's anyone out there, you know how when you was like a little kid, I don't know if this was just me, but like if I said to any of my parents, I'm bored, they're like, no, like you can't be bored. Look at all the shit you've got. You know, you've got a fucking PlayStation sitting there. You've got these fucking DVDs. You've got books. Go outside and play. You know, like there'll be like a million and one things. I feel like if anyone today, like with all these delays, is like, oh, I'm bored. There's no games to play. I'd be like, are you fucking insane? You telling me that you've played all of the good shit that is released like over the last 5 years?
If that is the case, then that is the case, me and you have to sit down and talk about your membership to society and how lacking it is.
Go read a book. Like rotate off games for a couple of months. Go read a book.
Sounds like you need to start a podcast. That's what.
Yeah,
exactly. You need.
You've got all this information about all these games and all these opinions. Should be sharing.
You know what I mean? It's like I understand like people. I understand the general feeling of, oh, I was looking forward to B thing, Cyberpunk or Last of Us when it was delayed, whatever. I understand why people are like, oh, that's disappointed. I understand that, and that's fine. But at the same time, if you're like, oh, my whole, like, what the fuck am I supposed to play now? It's like,
but even now, looking at the year when we were looking at the calendar year for 2020 a couple of weeks ago, most of us was sat there thinking, how the fuck do I get to all these games?
Yeah, and we're still going to get to that point later in the year. It's
going to be later in the year, but at least now there is a lot of the games that I want to play are a bit more spaced out. A little teeny tiny bit. Like part of me really hopes, even though I speculated it last week, I hope Cyberpunk isn't released around new consoles because I want Cyberpunk in a period all to itself. So I can just sit there and play that game without having to ignore anything else, because I can guarantee, unless it's a new console generation, I'm ignoring everything else.
I'm starting to feel that PlayStation's going to release in September these days.
Oh, it's just going to happen. And I'm going to be like, well, okay, you've done it. All right, let's fucking work this out. But
more aboard the theory. But yeah, it's also like, compared to like 10 years ago, we get more games, higher quality games, DLC, these games of service, these massive multiplayer games. Like the amount of options and quality and quantity is just up. You know, when you compare it to like when we were kids, for example. Even
like, because I remember looking back at kids and going to game stores and looking at PS2 games. The majority of the PS2 games, like a large portion of the PS2 games I was looking at, were like crappy license games.
Yeah, shovelware and like, the movie, the game, the thing, and whatever.
Yeah,
else.
exactly. Like there was a good, and I don't think we get that as much anymore. Like we don't have those crappy license games that people have spent.
They're on mobile.
Yeah, exactly. They've all moved over to mobile. So gaming industry has changed. And we always have to remember, gaming is in its infancy still. Like, even though it's been around for 20, 30 years in some form or another, it's still in its infancy compared to other mediums. So...
Yeah, we're about to hit our French New Wave cinema period.
Yeah.
Of video games. Yeah, that'll do it. That is Arcade Couch for the first of our Monday episodes. So hope we've kicked your Monday off well. You can, of course, check out ExplosionNetwork.com for all our other shows, reviews, news, articles, and much more. You can review Arcade Couch on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser, or simply tweet out and be like, hey, that was a great show. They've moved to Monday now. Go check it out. You can follow Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod. You can check out our Discord at ExplosionNetwork.com/Discord. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, Vivaladil. You can follow Ciaran on Twitter at boy Ringo. You can follow Ash on Twitter at Ashley Holby, ASHLEYHOBLEY. And we'll see you here next week. Same time. That's a Monday now. Same couch.
You can't say same time. You have to say new time.
New time.
Same couch.
New time. Same couch.
Same couch.
Same couch. New time. Next week.
Not new couch. Same time.
I mean,
new couch. Time.
No, it's the same couch.
Same time slot, different day.
Same time slot, different day.
This couch still has tear marks in it from the last time Ashley yelled at me, okay? Same couch.
Like 20 minutes ago.